I'm building this justification. I'm building evidence. I believe it to be true. Is it true? I don't know. You know?
Welcome back to Open to Truth, a podcast all about exploring big ideas and discovering truth together. My name's Clint.
Hey, I'm Tony. Welcome back.
And today I wanted to almost take another stab at a conversation we were just having amongst us friends, also a local listener of this podcast and just one of our buddies. Mm-hmm. And we were over at a wing and a pub kind of establishment having a discussion about knowledge.
I sensed you weren't thrilled with how it went.
No, well, I was more just disappointed in myself. I didn't feel like I articulated it well. So
Okay.
I just wanted to take an even more public
Take two, all right.
stab.
Okay.
And, you know, it's the topic of knowledge and particularly skepticism. Mm-hmm. Those who doubt that human beings either can or do know very many things at all has been a concern of thinkers for millennia. In fact. So,
yeah.
Not trying necessarily to end that squabble today, but I would say that the skeptical sentiment is fairly pervasive around a number of different, at least, domains of human thought. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can just outline some of what might be the standard view. Most people think that they know quite a bit about the world. Not necessarily that they have a large body of knowledge, but they do know quite a bit of stuff. They know that they have a car, or they know that they have hands.
They know their address. They know, lots of stuff they know.
Things about the external world that they would encounter in their everyday lives. There are ordinary knowledge claims. We use that language all the time, like that we claim to know things, and we use that colloquially. So that's at least some reason to take this seriously. Like if the skeptical claim that human beings either can't or don't know quite a bit of those things, we have to really kind of reframe how we talk about things, how we envision the world. Mm-hmm. Knowledge seems pretty central to how we navigate.
Yeah, very useful.
Our lives, right?
Very useful for survival. You got to know some stuff. Got to know about tigers if you want to avoid them. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true, actually. You might be able to do that on instinct,
right?
When confronted with a tiger. But yeah, in general, we are all trying to build working models of the world so that we can figure out where we are and how to act in it. That seems right to me. Yeah. You're upset with how I phrased that?
No. Oh, I'm just thinking about just that phrasing of working models. Even that,
that's not as confident as knowledge.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's a
hypothesis.
It's a more pragmatic. Like if it happens to work, I'll believe something. I have beliefs, and they either help me or don't help me get toward my ends or my goals. But I think knowledge, at least as classically envisioned and sought after, is something a little bit deeper, more than that. Like being acquainted with the world as it really is. Like there's this separation that I have as a conscious observer and the outside world, and there's this state of knowledge that I can become acquainted with it in the right way, or that my mental way of cognizing things is somehow accurate, is lining up to the way the world is.
Is that different than just saying your model is correct in that instance? The way you're thinking about the world happens to line up with the way the world is. Your model is correct.
That it is different than saying that.
Help me understand how.
So because knowledge, so the standard philosophical definition of knowledge is tripartite. There's 3 parts. It requires belief. That belief has to be true, and you have to be justified or warranted in your belief. So what you just described is just the truth condition. So doesn't it just matter that you're correct? That does matter for knowledge, but it goes beyond that. I need to be justified in my assertion. So suppose I just told you right now I don't know if this is in fact coming up, but the Cavs-Knicks basketball game will end with the score of 100-99. The Cavs win. I just spoke that out into the ether. And lo and behold, if we were to watch the game in a couple days, suppose that was the final score.
Yeah.
And I said, aha, I knew it all along.
Yeah.
And you would say, hold your horses, mate.
No, mate, you didn't.
You didn't know that. You were right. You were correct. But it's that's not a valuable mental state at all. Maybe it was a good working model for maybe I put some money on it and I actually won some money. But none of that
doesn't get you to knowing it.
It doesn't get you to knowing. There's something, I think, worthy of its interest and valuable in itself to have knowledge. And what was missing there was I wasn't really justified. I didn't have good reasons at all for that assertion.
Right.
I just kind of guessed, or I was clairvoyant in some way in that moment.
Justified true belief.
Justified true belief.
Maybe I struggle with the timeline of things. Okay, on that story, you didn't know what the football score was going to be, or the Cavs score, whatever. You made some guess that turned out to be right. For it to have been knowledge, you needed to be justified, you needed to believe it, and it needed to be true. But the true piece doesn't get revealed one way or the other until the game actually takes place. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
you make the claim on Monday, the score will be 100-1. I know it to be the case.
Yeah.
Let's say you do, on your view, somehow you're justified and you do know this. I don't see, or at least I don't see how you get the truth piece until Thursday when the game gets played. And then we'll find out if you knew.
So maybe we should pivot away from a future-based example.
Okay.
Because now we might be running into what we've done on another episode of whether or not future tense statements are truth apt at all.
Right.
So maybe let's
Does it have a truth
table that
maker?
one and
Okay.
I don't know, go with something. I'm wearing blue jeans. I know that I'm wearing blue jeans. If you can see on YouTube, you might also feel like you have that bit of knowledge as well. So you believe it. You have this attitude in your mind of accepting or holding. You're justified, you might say, in believing that because like your visual apparatus is working. You think that the cameras we're using are correctly picking up the images here, and this isn't a figment of your imagination. You're not being fed. You're not a brain in a vat, or some evil demon isn't tricking your neurons into thinking you're seeing this. Like, yeah, just that dude that's talking right now on YouTube is wearing jeans.
Yeah.
I know Clint is wearing jeans. I'm just saying that's the standard view of knowledge that we would all kind of be on board with. Present tense doesn't have to do with the future, and in fact is likely about the past.
Yeah. I'm just having a hard time teasing out the difference between the justification that you have there and how you go to figure out whether or not it's true. Those seem like the same process to me. So like you make this claim, I'm wearing blue jeans. He believes it. Okay. Ticks that box. Is he justified? Well, I look down, I see blue jeans. So that kind of justifies you. Okay, should we find out if it's true? Well, I look down, I see blue jeans. So it is true. See how these two are the same exact process? Like the process you use to be justified is the process you use to figure out whether or not it was true. Am I understanding that right? It seems wrong. Something about that seems wonky. I'm not getting the distinction there.
The truth condition... Good.
I'm asking, how do you know it's true?
Well, yeah, that's the
How do you know that you know?
Those are different.
Okay, all right. We'll get there then.
The justification, and that's where I think we were hanging up. That was the hang up at the pub. The justification process just is that process by which you try to ascertain whether something's true. That's the hunt for evidence. That's the gathering. That's the subjecting your mental apparatus, your sensory apparatus. You're wondering, like, am I high right now or drunk or being hallucinating. Well, no, I really am experiencing blue jeans right now.
Mm-hmm.
The truth condition is kind of separate from that. It's mind independent.
Okay, that's what I needed.
It either obtains or doesn't obtain.
Yes. Right.
So that is not dependent. Whether it's true is not dependent on that whole justification process.
Or whether you believe it.
Yeah.
It just is or it isn't.
That's right. And so this is helpful because the skeptic who thinks that we either can't or don't have knowledge about a great many things actually agrees with this concept of knowledge. They agree that knowledge is justified true belief. It's just that one of those consistently fails, and it's usually the justification part. You think you have good enough reasons for these things, but you don't.
Right.
So suppose I think we can tease this out by noting kind of how sometimes the term skeptic can be a little bit slippery. A lot of us use that word as like, oh, that person's, I'm skeptical of that decision, which means really just you're questioning
I
or
have some
doubting.
doubts about it, yeah.
Right. That's not quite what we have in mind, or at least I don't. You can also, sometimes it's, let's say, in the realm of ethics. Because you can be a global or a limited skeptic. A global skeptic would be, we can't and don't know anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
A limited skeptic would be maybe like on individual domains, like, oh, yeah, we can know things in math, but we can't know things in religion.
Right, okay.
Or we can know things about external world, and there's chairs and there's people and there's computers and there's lights, but you can't know anything about ethics.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of different kinds of skepticism that we just need to be clear about what we're saying. Let's take the ethics case. There's two different types of skeptics here, let's say. There are ethical truths. We just can't know what they are. They're somehow outside of our cognitive grasp, or we don't have the right machinery to pick up on those, or whatever the story is, we can't ascertain what they are. Or you might say, actually, there are no ethical truths, and that's why we can't know them. Those are very different.
Yeah.
That second one is not what I'm interested in, because that's more a claim about metaphysics. Whether there are or are not moral facts. And that leads to us not being able to have ethical knowledge, whereas the former one is more epistemological, or having to do with our justification and knowledge. And
And okay. So which form of skepticism do you want to
I want to look at the one that where we can kind of agree that there are truths out there there are mind independent truths. It's just that human beings are somehow unable to grasp them. And there's a few arguments that people would typically use. So, I mean, normally you would encounter these like maybe in a philosophy class, but I don't know, you could encounter this kind of thing in certain discussions, like, and why I think this matters, not only for our just preserving our ordinary language and talk of knowledge. Like, there are a lot of important ordinary knowledge claims that you would want to hold on to. Like, I know that I have hands. Oh my goodness. I know that I'm married. I know that I have children. Though these are the kinds of things under assault from the skeptical arguments. As well as even broader, maybe if you're from a religious background, like in John 17:3 in the New Testament, this is eternal life, that they know you, the one true God. So like part of the summum bonum, the great good of man, knowledge is wrapped up into that. And so these skeptical arguments threaten to undermine this. And so I think it's worth investigating.
And when you use the word know, you don't mean certainty, right? Or do you?
I personally do not. But I think that is the flashpoint of the discussion.
I walked away from our lunch the other day thinking, I think it is just coming down to how we use these words, maybe. Like maybe we just need a new word or something. If you don't mean certainty when you use the word no? Because I think colloquially, most people do mean that. They mean if you know something, you can't be wrong about it. But you've said just a moment ago, it can turn out to be wrong. You can be wrong about something that you know, right?
You can.
Okay, that's where I get lost, and I think a lot of the audience will get lost as well.
Okay.
So, because I think colloquially, the way we use the word is, if I know something, I can't be wrong about it. I guarantee it. I promise you. I know this. Now, we do maybe we don't always, like, how can I say this? I have beliefs. There's a lot of things I believe and act as if they're true, but I am not certain, and I could be wrong about. And I actually think that's where that's the way, like, yeah, again, it just depends how you're using that word.
So do you personally feel like you know very little?
The way I use that word, yes, because I do, when I say I know something, I mean I'm certain about it.
Yeah.
And so because
but that you like
I am not certain about many things.
That you have a son.
Yeah, I am certain I have a son.
Oh, you are certain?
I mean, I think so. Okay. Think about that.
And maybe, and again, like back to, or not again, just with the colloquial part, or like how we use the language.
Yeah.
That it can be misleading, I guess. Because I don't know, I think people might use certainty differently. Certain is like the highest form, the highest epistemological
confidence level. Yeah.
Confidence level you can get, which is airtight. It's certain. If you're certain about something, you can't be wrong.
Right. And so, okay.
Now, maybe this is helpful. I would say there's a huge difference between psychological certainty and epistemological certainty. One is a feeling of like, I feel really strongly about this. And the epistemic certainty is more like, take your feelings out of it, the strength of your reasons. And with certainty, I can tell you that 2 + 2 = 4. Just by dint of what the meaning of those words are, it has to be true. I'm certain. If I'm wrong about that, everything goes out the window.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, really.
Yeah.
So although like there are madmen that can be psychologically certain of a great many things, some who claim to be the archangel Gabriel and are in fact not.
Yeah.
But I would say they don't have epistemic certainty. Their reasons don't, their justification meter doesn't go all the way up to 100%. What the ordinary view is trying to preserve is that we don't have to reach the 100% mark in order to claim that we know.
Yeah, and maybe that's how does that not just come back to like, we should use this word differently? Like, because I have no problem saying to the skeptic who asks, do you know you have a son? Well, technically, no, I don't know. I could be a brain in a vat. I don't know, you know? Great. Like, this could be the Matrix. Maybe I don't really have a son. I'm certainly having the experience of a son, and I do believe that I have a son. So I'm acting as if I have a son. And that's a long-winded way to answer somebody who says, do you know if you have a son or not? But I guess that's what my answer would technically be, is I don't truly know. I could be wrong about it, but I really do think I do, and I believe I do, and I act as if I do. So that's how I want to use the word. That's how I want to talk about it. But you're saying I'm using the word no wrong there.
No.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
Well,
maybe.
I do. Like, well, if that's
that's what I'm saying.
But it's in line with like there are other views that would say that that's the exactly right way to parse this problem. It's called contextualism.
Oh.
And that view says that depending on the context of the discussion, the meaning of the word no changes, and that's how to solve skeptical worries. So when I'm talking with my friend, then I do know that I have a son, but if I'm talking to a skeptic
who's going to be a dick, then I'll be technical. I don't actually know.
I don't view that as a genuine, interesting solution. I mean,
well, I offer it because I don't know if there's a genuine, interesting problem. That's why. Like, for somebody who is a contextualist, this whole thing is a non-issue. It's just a matter of how we're using the words, right?
That's why I started with like, and maybe I'll try.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I know this take 2 you want it to be better, and I'm putting the wheel, sticking the spoke.
This is helpful for me to like take another try to be better about this. And maybe it's not right, you know? I was trying to cast this vision for there is this legitimate good. And again, like, and maybe you're right, maybe it's a word thing, but the state of affairs of my mind and how I'm thinking to actually line up with the way the world is.
Yep.
And it's not good enough for me to just say I'm acting as though I have a daughter. That sucks, dude. Like, I do have a daughter, though, and I claim to know it. I don't want to just... It feels like cheapening of that great value of knowing to capitulate to just because there's a possibility that I'm a brain in a vat. Oh, you're right. Maybe I guess I don't really know. Oh, well, wait. I've given up the diamond in the rough way too quickly.
But when you talk about this, correct me if I'm wrong, the great good of the mental furniture aligning with reality, that seems like phenomenology. Like there's a texture to your experience of a child that you don't want to lose. You don't want to give up by saying, I don't technically know. What do you mean, man? I really do know. That is my daughter. My willingness to capitulate to the skeptic in a classroom doesn't in any way undercut the realness of my relationship with my son day to day and how I perceive it and think about it. I don't know if I am losing out on that great good that you're talking about. Like from a first person perspective, it's almost just an annoying academic capitulation, but like maybe can we go here? Maybe this would be helpful. Yeah. Properly basic beliefs and Plantinga and stuff like for the skeptic, until I'm confronted with a reason to think I might be a brain in a vat, I'm justified in rejecting that hypothesis, right? Doesn't the properly basic belief argument go something like that?
Yeah. But it just seems like you are ceding some ground by giving them the word no. And maybe that just sounds like too annoyingly linguistic. But to me, it's not just a word. That word is meant to capture something valuable about being in touch with reality. It's like one of the pillars of philosophy as a discipline. There's the ethics, how should I act? Metaphysics, what's real and what exists, and knowledge, epistemology. Can I be rightly related to the stuff out there, or am I totally trapped in here and I don't know which way is up?
I don't know which way is up.
Knowledge. You're genuinely acquainted and aligned with the way the world is, with your mind. It seems important.
Yeah, it
and
does.
Again, maybe, to deference to the skeptic, it could be that we really don't. That's not a thing that can happen. You know, that's what they claim. You don't know any of these things. That's an impossibility. There's something jacked up, basically, about the way that you are, or just the way that justification works, that you can't ever...
Well, maybe not jacked up. Maybe it's the limitations of your apparatus. Like we got these 5 senses, or more than that, but however many senses we've got. There are some realities we're just not in touch with. There's some aspects of reality that we can't pick up on now. Doesn't even enter our sphere of consciousness because we're not picking up those radio waves. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. So it is hard for... it's hard to imagine that we could ever tell the big story of what's actually going on, given how limited our apparatus is for gathering info and data. We're very limited to this. From a human perspective, here on this rock, here, it really seems like, I'm such and such tall and I know these things, but that's all relative. And I guess maybe the problem is we don't know what we don't know. Like, couldn't there be some aspects of reality that we haven't bumped into at all yet that could upend our models of thinking that we are flesh and blood humans, or like, I do sympathize with the skeptic, I guess. I do sympathize because there's a whole set of unknown unknowns, things we don't know about, that we don't even know what they are, that we don't know about, you know?
Right. Okay, I'm following you.
And that seems unavoidable. That seems like it's baked into our part of our limitations of being human. So I want to give the skeptic credit where credit's due, that, I don't know, I don't want to just hand wave and dismiss that things could be very different than they appear to be. I mean, physics is constantly surprising us by flipping our intuitions on their head. Quantum entanglement and wave particle duality, that sort of thing, is constantly challenging our intuitions. So I just want to leave room for the possibility that things are just very different than they appear to be. But they appear to be this way, and I am here, and I do need to make this life work. So it's like,
well,
please.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Oh man. And I think I want to like present this picture that's consistent with making claims about knowledge. So let me throw this at you. This is from a classic epistemology text. This is called the certainty argument for skepticism.
Okay.
If S knows that P, so S is a subject, if Clint knows something about the external world, that chair that Tony's sitting on is red, then Clint is absolutely certain of that chair being red. But no one is ever absolutely certain of anything about the external world. Therefore, no one knows anything about the external world. So that first premise is connecting the concept of knowledge and absolute certainty.
Yep.
And I take it that that's kind of how you are thinking of the word knows. Like, to deploy that word is of such gravitas that you are certain of it.
Yeah. I mean, in my internal lexicon, those words are synonyms.
Right. And I think, how about this? So another way of recasting that is if I know that P, whatever proposition, then I could not be mistaken about P. Is that what?
Yeah.
Like, I could not be wrong.
That's how I
about
want
it.
to use the word. Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's when you said earlier, like, that's where I'm getting tripped up when I said, yeah, like, I know it, but I could be wrong about it.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that, man.
Okay. Let me throw.
If you could be wrong, don't tell me you know it, man.
So here. Okay, let me try this. Here is an analog, like a similar structured sentence.
Yeah.
If Paul is a bachelor, then Paul could not be married.
Yeah.
So the problem with you. So you're saying yes, that's true.
If Paul is a bachelor, then Paul cannot be married. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is
because what it means to be a bachelor is that you're not married.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Connect it. I mean, expose me for the fool I am.
No.
Please.
I'm just saying that this certainty principle about knowledge and this bachelor thing trades on a modal ambiguity of could. If then statements, whenever coulds are involved, are like really complicated and weird. So Paul could be married, though, if he found the right gal. If Paul is a bachelor, then Paul could not be married.
Oh, could not be married.
So what do we?
I thought it was like Paul is not married. Isn't that what it was saying?
Well, that's what I'm saying about knowledge. If I know, then I'm not wrong. That's the fallibilist claim. But the certainty argument is saying if you know, then you can't be wrong. I could be wrong, but I'm just not. Just like with The Bachelor.
Retrace it, man. I got lost there when the script flipped from Paul is not married to Paul could not be married. I'm wondering if I just misunderstood that. Was the question asking if Paul is a bachelor, then he could not ever be married? Like that, because that's different than if Paul is a bachelor, then he's not married.
That is different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the skeptical argument is feistily tinkering with that ambiguity. When you say if I know that P, then I could not be mistaken about P, it's true in the sense that by definition, like we talked about earlier, justified true belief, if you know it, then it's true. So like if you knew, then you couldn't be wrong about it because it's
'Cause
true.
It's true, right? That's baked into the knowing.
Yeah, but P could have been otherwise. It's contingent. It's contingently the case. I could be wrong about that. Just in the same way that if Paul is a bachelor, yes, it's true. In virtue of being a bachelor, he can't be married. But Paul himself could be married at some point.
I feel really dumb. I know, you keep presenting it like, and then now the light bulb's going to go off, and it's just not happening for me. I'm just like, no, if he's a bachelor, he's not married. And I get it. Paul's a free agent. Like, he could go get married, but then he wouldn't be a bachelor. So I took the question to mean, hey, there's this guy, Paul. If I tell you that he is a bachelor, and that is true, that he is a bachelor, then there's no way he could be married, right? Yes, that's right. If it's true that he is a bachelor, then he could not be married. And you're like, yeah, but after we told that story, Paul could go get married. Well, that would be different. Then he wouldn't be a bachelor anymore, and he would be married.
I want to say that we can tell that same story about knowledge. So, or how about this? We can divide up all the things in the cosmos, and we can put them in two boxes.
Okay.
Things that could be married and things that could not be married. I want to say Paul is in the could be. I'm going to put him in the could be married box. He is not married though, right now, and he's a bachelor. But he is squarely in the could be married box. Now,
as in, like, he is the type of thing that is capable of marriage? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay, then it's the way we're using could.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
And so the skeptical argument that says if Clint knows that P, then Clint could not be mistaken about P. Clint is in the box of, actually, I could be mistaken about P. I could. But I'm not mistaken. Just like I'm a bachelor. So then the idea would be that we should not be convinced of the certainty argument that says if you know that P, you can't be mistaken, or you have to be absolutely certain, but no one's absolutely certain about anything, therefore you don't know anything. That's the skeptical argument that threatens to undermine all our treasured knowies. Mm-hmm. And I think it just hangs on this, the philosophy term, like modally ambiguous sentence, where this how if then statements work and could and what that's referring to.
Yeah, that's what's messing me up. Mm-hmm. There's different ways to interpret the sentence, I guess.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm giving up as much ground as you're worried about giving up.
That's the part I'm worried.
Okay, skeptics. Yeah, it might be a demon. Okay. But it's probably not. And that's not worth me thinking about until I'm confronted with evidence that it might be.
I agree.
You know?
Yes. Okay. Now we're on. Yes.
Okay.
I agree with you, but you're willing to throw in the towel on knowledge.
Yeah, you can have that word if you want. That's fine. Doesn't change the way I live.
But it's hard to find a different word that like helps the issue.
Like, do you feel like a lot is diminished going from...
True. I mean, true. It's true that I have a son, and I have really good reasons for thinking it.
No. Yeah. But do you feel like a lot is diminished from I'm 100% sure I have a son to I'm 99.9% sure I have a son? Could be demons. Could be brain in a vat. Small chance. But like, it's probabilities. I'm very, very confident that I have a son. Could be wrong. Might be wrong. Maybe it's demons. Mm-hmm. But look, I'm pretty dang sure I'm going to say that I know.
That's my view.
Yeah, that's your view.
That's what I'm saying. You just, at the very end, you're like, I'm going to say that I know. I agree with you. You should.
Which is how I do it colloquially. And then when I'm pressed by a skeptic, I'll say, yeah, you're right. Technically, I don't know. I'm not certain.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering,
and so
is this all just a big semantics fight that we don't need to have? I'm wondering.
That I can't fault you there. Like that's a major view in this space.
Okay.
Called the contextualist view.
But then maybe that's
where
that's
you're
where
a
I am.
contextualist.
Maybe that's
okay.
where I am. Where I struggle with the JT bit, justified true belief bit, and I don't know if this gets too meta or too convoluted, but the knowing that you know bit becomes tough for me, because again, going back to your justification and whether it's true or not is mind independent, but whether or not you know it's true, whether or not you know you have the J, the T, and the B, how do you know that you know? Isn't all you ever have the belief and finding justifications for the belief?
Because the justification are truth indicators.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So how can you ever know that it is in fact true? And so therefore I know that I know.
That's true.
I'm building this justification. I'm building evidence. I believe it to be true. Is it true? I don't know. You know?
This is funny, man.
Seems like all you can ever do is keep on gathering the justifications and building up the probability. I'm 98, I'm 99, 99.9, really sure? I don't know. I worry that it's recursive in some way, and there's no...
And so on that story then, yeah, you just seem, I guess not committed to, like, I guess I would like to say I don't care about this either, but the word know, knowledge, this long-standing virtue that's like this great good to try to possess, and understanding and seeking to grasp and to be acquainted with things as they are. I agree that justification meter can grow, like more and more research and evidence gathering. But I just here's what I don't appreciate or I don't love about the skeptical position. Is that they're saying, Clint, you don't know that you have a son because it's possible that you're a brain in a vat. And I agree that it undermines certainty, but I don't agree that it undermines knowledge. Me being acquainted with the world as it is, and a mental alignment, and I'm in epistemic good standing with the way the world and I are cooperating. That's knowledge. And certainty is really cool. Like, there's some things that we can be certain about. I happen to think...
Yeah, like mathematical truths and a priori stuff.
Logical truths.
Yep.
That bachelors are unmarried males.
Yep.
There's a bunch of them. Definitions, basically. And those are fantastic. But that doesn't exhaust the things that I can know and be rightly related to the world by. The skeptic is they're doing something non-linguistic. I really have that sense that they're not that they're ill-willed or something, but they are convinced that possibility undermines credence and justification. That no, you don't have good enough reasons to. You're not really aligned with the world as it is, or you can't.
You can't claim certainty. That's really the thing. And again, it just goes back to the contextual. I think it's just the way we're using the word know. Yeah. Because I'm with you. Like, I'm all for justified belief, and I'm all for it being true. That's great. That's a fine... I mean, when I think about how I operate in the world, I have these beliefs. I want them to be justified so that, to your point, I'm in accord with reality.
Yeah.
But I just have to admit that I'm not certain about things. And maybe it is the skeptic just conflating certainty and knowledge like that.
Well, now just not that contextualism is just this cool garden where there's no problems.
Sure.
So the skeptic does not agree with that view. They would be what's called an invariantist about the definition. That's invariant. It doesn't change, or contextual.
People have talked about this for a while, haven't they?
And so the skeptic is an invariantist. Well, like, no, the definition of knowledge or that doesn't change. And in fact, if suddenly in the philosophy classroom you're worried about knowledge, out goes the other crap that you're doing in that weaker context. Like that, the other context where you can just start using no however you want, has just chosen not to be fettered by these genuine philosophical concerns. Isn't that nice? Actually, you don't know anything at all. You can use that word, but what we're saying about all these different ways that you should call into question your apparatus, it makes you disaligned with the world in the way that you thought you were. So you can use your words in different ways. That's how they would respond to the contextualist. So the skeptic and I would be called a fallibilist, meaning that knowledge, you could be wrong about the things that you know. We both agree that knowledge carries the same definition wherever he goes. And the different context, particularly like the philosophy classroom or like encountering a skeptical argument, merely reveals the tough problem. It's not, that doesn't like somehow, just because there's this other context doesn't preserve what's over here, you know.
Yeah, I think I got you.
Yeah, it just feels like I guess that's the starting place. Like, I feel like I'm giving something up.
Yeah.
To say that I don't know them. Both ordinary knowledge claims and big important ones about the cosmos or ethics and religion. And I know that I have a dad. I would love for that to be the case. But the skeptic says, no, you might have popped into existence 5 minutes ago and there are no dads.
Yeah. Could be.
It could be. And the question is, does that undermine knowledge?
And I say it depends how you use the word. Depends what you mean.
If you mean knowledge as certainty, then yes, you do lose knowledge.
Yes.
If you... that's not what you're saying, though, is it?
I think so.
But if you mean less than that,
then keep using the word. Yeah. That's my whole thing, is just depends how you use that word. And if the skeptic really wants to press me and they're equating knowledge with certainty, then yes, I will concede some ground that I am not certain about the world's being created 5 minutes ago. But
why do you feel like you have to bend to that notion of knowledge?
I'm not really worried about giving anything up. To admit that I could be wrong, that I'm not certain that we're sitting here physically in a room. I'm not certain about that.
Yeah, right.
But
I agree with
really
you.
Probable. I really act as if it's true. I believe it's true. I'm justified in that belief. So, yep, I would say I know it colloquially. And then, unless and until somebody quibbles with me on that, I don't need to give anything up. Yeah, I know it. Here I am.
But then, you... Sorry, I'm confused now. So you are saying you know.
I'm saying I use the word two ways, and the word gets used two ways in different contexts. Most people, when they say the word no, now I'm getting jammed up. Most people mean I couldn't be wrong about it, right?
The contextualist is saying that people use it in different ways depending on the context.
Yeah.
So when I'm presented with the skeptical scenarios,
yes,
then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But normally, like, babe, make sure to get milk. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I knew that you said that earlier.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, I'm not certain, but
right.
like I had really good reason.
I was acting on it.
My memory works.
Right.
I heard you. I can picture
I guess
it.
technically, I'm not certain. I'm like 99.9% sure.
But I think.
But I say I know it.
I don't think you want to say that most people mean certainty all the time.
No, as that came out of my mouth, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't actually think that's true.
Like that was the ordinary knowledge claim piece. Like we use that, and that seems to carry some
Because the
weight.
the argument, the example you gave in the restaurant that was good was, do you know that your car is in the parking lot? And my answer was, no, I don't know.
Right.
Could have been stolen. I really think it is, though. I believe it's in the parking lot. I act as if it's in the parking lot until I'm confronted with evidence that it's not, and then I'll adjust.
Or how about this? Let me work it this way from like the JTB, like starting from there again.
Yeah.
So you just said like you believe it, and then the J and T part is like what's your evidence for thinking that that's true? The claim.
I have a memory of parking it and locking it and walking in.
And maybe I would say you have some other ones like I've never had my car stolen before.
Right. Statistically, car robberies are pretty slim. Like
Or
they don't
really
normally happen
in a public place. And
I have high confidence that it's in the parking lot, but I'm not certain. Maybe I'm just really inconsistent in how I use the word then, man. You know? Like,
But I want to figure out what I think about this. I mean, for the longest time, I've been a fallibilist. And I do think I know things. I do think I know that I know things by the same way that I know. To know that you know is...
That sentence. I think that I know things. Okay. I believe that I know things. Yeah.
Like the second order knowledge stuff you were bringing up. For the fallibilist, it's just yet another thing that I run through the JTB. What's my justification? But instead of for some little factoid about the world, now it's about my own knowledge. Like, okay, I believe that I know. And I've, haven't been, let's say I just haven't been wrong about these things before, depending on what the object is and that the first order was about.
Yep.
And I have no reason to think that my cognitive apparatus is failing me. It's undefeated, the reasons that I have. And so I know. I know that I know.
And you know that you know that you know. Probably.
Right, and you can
ad
keep
infinitum.
And I think the know that you know stuff kind of cuts both ways. Like, you might even worry if on the absolute certainty definition, does that cut away even more knowledge? Are you absolutely certain that you're absolutely certain?
Well, this is what I wanted to know. Is the skeptic is making a knowledge claim, right? Aren't they? In their assertion, like you can't know everything about what is the exact skeptical claim?
They're different.
Either way, they're claiming to know something in asserting it about the way the world is and the way humans relate to it and the limits of knowledge.
There is something strange about
something
skeptical
self-defeatingly strange about it. How do you know skepticism is the right way to think about it?
They don't. The consistent version.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. Damn it.
It's possible that I'm a brain in a vat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if true global skepticism is bizarre
and not that helpful. Like, okay, yeah, maybe
helpful. That's interesting. You keep wanting to bring that in. Helpful and pragmatics and does it work?
Yeah.
It's very Petersonian. I remember being frustrated with him when he was talking with Sam Harris about the nature of truth.
But is it real? And he wants to know, does it work? Because if it works, then it's real enough.
Oh my gosh, what does that mean? And so the thing that I'm describing when I use the word no, you're saying, yeah, I care about that too. Let's just not get too hung up on the word. Call it confidence. Call it credence, or you use the thing pretty sure a couple times as like almost a euphemism for how I'm using no.
Yeah.
But then there's this thing called certainty. We both agree that that's a thing.
It's a very high bar.
And you barely ever have it.
Yeah. I think that's how I think about it. And then.
So is it true? Are we right in saying that you and I have the same view, but I am being more of a stickler. Like I want to call
words.
it knowledge.
Maybe. That's what. Yeah. When I left that lunch, that's the feeling I had. Was like, I don't really think we disagree here. I think we're just using these words differently.
Mm-hmm. And I think where I'm at is I need to just think more about whether, like, are you giving up something valuable by relinquishing that word, or what are the other implications of that, or what's built into it? Knowledge to me is like it's a mental achievement. I've latched onto the world in the right way. That's what that word has been used for so long to mean. Like what the pursuit of knowledge. As I go to school and to university, I'm accruing knowledge. You're going there to learn, to understand, and you're gaining something is being built up in you, and it's not purely this continuum of like, well, what's your credence level and evidence? It's like at some point you reach knowledge and you know things. And like you've grasped, you've achieved. I've got that. Now I know it, and I'm ready to deploy that into the world in a way that I wasn't before.
I don't know if maybe you're... See, I would say that about understanding. Maybe understanding and knowledge are different. I guess so. They must be. I can understand how a set of principles work. Like that. I got it. That's like a...
Eureka.
It clicked. Like, oh, I'd been hearing about how to do this math problem, but it finally clicked for me. Now I get it. Whether or not that understanding is... it doesn't... Yeah. Oh, I get so tangled up now because I'm second guessing every time I want to use the word no.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same thing as knowledge, though. Like, yeah, you really don't want to give up something. Because I can understand fictions. Like, I can understand, I could understand how a hypothetical model of the world works, and it clicks, and I got it, and I get it. And but it doesn't actually accord with reality or something. So I don't know that stuff to be true. I know enough about that system of thought to operate within it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I was thinking about this earlier today in the shower, and like, what's an example I could give to maybe like the religious ones, or maybe his son, like even that one. What if I throw this one at him? How many? Do you know how many classes there are in World of Warcraft? And wouldn't you be like just infuriated to claim that someone told you like you don't know?
You don't know. There might not be such a thing as World of Warcraft.
Yeah, like I do know though.
Okay, but insofar as there is a world with World of Warcraft in it, then there are 12 classes.
Would he die on that? Would that finally be the hill that he'd
die? No, man.
I guess it's like that little moniker, no. I guess I could be wrong about like the sociology, the history of it. But like that has been used to like refer to that gaining, that acquisition, you're growing in your mental virtue, let's say, and you have something now that you didn't before.
Yeah, a body of knowledge. I get it. You want to build up a body of knowledge so that you can interact with the world properly, be properly related to reality.
And the skeptic claims to undermine all of that.
Which I think maybe I don't take the skeptic very serious. Like, that's why I'm not so concerned about this, is like, yeah, okay, yeah, there's some people out there who just like, but it could all be a dream. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. That's not relevant for me to really think about in terms of, but I am here. And so I do need to act, and I do need a working model of the world. Whether or not it's a dream, I'm in it, you know? So like, let's assume it's real. For all intents and purposes, here I am. Let's go. Let's do this. So I just don't entertain the skeptic's argument. I don't dwell on it for that long. It's not that interesting to me. You know?
Right. Well, now maybe this is where the initial distinction, like with the like you might be a skeptic about ethical knowledge because there just are no ethical truths. Like there's the metaphysical debate, And that's the kind I'm not trying to get hung up on. Like, are we actually brains in vats?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I don't find it very interesting.
And I don't think
it's like,
most skeptics are that way.
Okay.
They're not genuinely worried that we might be brains in vats.
Mm-hmm.
That's not it. It's that it is possible that that's true. It's the epistemology of it.
Yeah.
Because it's so they claim because it's possible that that's true. It could be true.
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't know anything.
Yeah, that again is just them co-opting a word. That's what that feels like. It's like because it's possible that
I agree that that's the solution to the problem that you guys have. Yes, I do agree.
Say it again.
That I don't feel the need to let go of the storied tradition of this whole thing we've been talking about of accruing and gaining. I know just because you have changed the definition to include absolute certainty.
Right.
I resist that. And here's why I don't think we need to include it. Because of the ambiguity of if hypothetical statements with could in there, and where do I put the modal operator?
Yeah.
It's like, you're right. I know it, so I'm not wrong, but I could be wrong because the thing that I'm talking about is contingently true.
Yes.
The chair could be green, but it's actually red, and I can see it, and I know that it's red. But it could actually be green though, because you could be all jacked up.
You're all messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I don't have good like you said.
Yeah.
I've never found a compelling reason to think I'm a brain in a vat.
Yeah.
So this is the idea. I think we're getting now.
Yeah.
I feel
discoveries happening.
The texture around me is agreement that mere possibility does not undermine justification or credence level. This is important. It's very, very important because it gets to other areas where let's bring in belief in the resurrection of Jesus.
Yep.
So what epistemic work is happening when someone suggests, well, I don't know, there was this parasite in that tomb that was especially rapid at eating flesh, and they came in and the body of Jesus disintegrated from parasites. Like, so does that I'm sure that's possible.
Is it possible? Yeah.
Does that, the fact of its possibility undermine any of your other evidence? Like, should that mere possibility lower your credence level? And so I find that analogous to the skeptical stuff with brain vats. Does the mere possibility that I'm a brain vat bring me from what I thought was knowledge, now I don't know anymore, actually? And I want to say no. I it stayed the same. I'm at the same credence level. I know, and just because you brought that up doesn't mean I no longer know. I think that's what I'm mostly claiming.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I need to. Now, what made this all super tricky is that you came to the table with in agreement with the skeptical definition of knowledge that you've apparently been using no to mean I'm absolutely certain.
Yeah.
So that's what was
We're using it both ways.
So that's what was.
Context.
You're an interesting case because you are not a skeptic, and yet you use their definition of no.
Right. I had conceded
long ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Take the word, whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. Mere possibility lowering your credence level. I'm trying to think if there's a case where that would be appropriate.
And that's why mere is doing all the work. It's because an alternative with some evidence is now no longer a mere possibility.
Right.
So
that's what I was going to say.
Someone stole the body of Jesus. Well, that's not just merely possible.
It explains some of the evidence, just like the other explanation of resurrection does. Yeah.
That's something that surely has happened in history. People steal bodies, and there's a motive there. But mere possibility, like the brain in the vat, where there's no reason at all to think that that's the case. It's not a genuine, noteworthy alternative to like investigate.
Right.
It's just a pure possibility.
Yeah, and there's no investigation to be done. There's nothing you could do.
Yes.
Right. So
you can't rule it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm also not going to take it very seriously.
And so I don't feel like I need to give up on using the word no in an appropriate way where I can get good enough evidence. And there's a whole discussion to be had in epistemology about what that is. Because I worry too. Yeah. Anyway, just that whole accruing enough evidence to get enough justification to make a knowledge claim. It's undefeated. There aren't, undermining evidence that's coming in. Like, oh, it turns out Tony gave you a hallucinogenic pill earlier. Well, okay. Well, upon learning that, now
does undermine.
That revises my calculation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I feel better about this.
Okay.
I think so. I definitely feel better than I did after that lunch in terms of understanding the terrain a little bit.
Yeah. But just like I don't know how much we're going to cut out, but
probably a lot, dear listener, has been cut out of this. This has been a meandering episode.
Yeah.
So if you've made it this far,
maybe the
well
first
done.
bit and then that last bit, and there's a ton in the middle.
There's a lot in the middle that's probably us scratching our beards.
But just if you're curious about reading more about it, I always recommend like the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. I'm sure there's good YouTube videos out there that are more show some diagrams and cool arrows and stuff that are pointing out. But just here, this podcast is a conversation.
Yeah. It's exploratory. We've said this before. It's not a teaching podcast. It's a learning podcast. So like Clint and I are both attempting to learn through conversation. These are the things we think about. And that's why some of it sometimes ends up on the cutting room floor. Actually, I think some of our better episodes end up with stuff on the cutting room floor because you and I are thinking out live.
Yeah.
And that just takes some time of us like sitting there in silence, thinking it through. So hopefully we didn't lose you there. Hopefully you followed along.
Yeah. And also I'm similar to in our previous Trinity episode, the role of tradition.
Yeah.
In maintaining that doctrine. I do know that there are a ton of really bright, and most philosophers think the way that I was trying to articulate, the fallibilist view. And so I'm just I was just feeling that pressure to
like do it justice.
Yeah,
do the view justice.
Because I know that they all think there's something really important at stake, and it seems odd that it could all be swept away by like, oh, it's just a word, doesn't matter. Like, oh, they just spent their lives,
their whole life defending that word. Yeah. Well, sorry to give up the ground so quickly to the skeptics.
But that's why I'd like to returning to, okay, what does the word refer to?
Yeah.
Like you had to pick some word. So this is the word we're going to use.
Yep.
No. And there's this thing of accrual and being aligned with the world. And yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Yep.
As always, you can leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Chuck one down there. We'll get back to you. You can always write into the show, mailbag@openatruth.com. We'll collect your questions and comments and do a mailbag episode here in a bit. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Take it easy.
All right. We'll see you. Bye. Stay curious.